Hey everyone, welcome back to another Whisper video. I've got a haircut, so I've got a different look. She might not recognize me, but same old Will. It's my turn to host today, and I've got Matt and Ben with me. How are you guys?
Awesome. Yeah, love and live. Come on, let's bring it on. Looking forward to sharing with the audience another update.
To be fair, this is an exciting update, and I'm going to quickly read out. We've only added one thing, but it's been a big thing, and we spoke about it briefly in the previous video because we were researching and adding it. But now it's added, at least the first version of it, and that is the fact that we have now enabled custom providers to be added to Whisper. So before, if this is your first time viewing, Whisper is 100% local, 100% private, and you can use our on-device AI by default. You don't need internet access. We don't have a server for it. It's totally yours. However, local AI is an ongoing development process. It is right at the beginning. It's pushing a frontier of technology. So we admit there's still work to do. It's really good, but some people have subscriptions. Some people are transitioning from cloud providers to private AI. Privacy means different things to different people. So we heard it and we wanted to add custom providers here. And this is briefly what it is. I'm going to quickly show it and then I'm going to jump into the questions for you guys because, everyone wants to hear all about this in more detail. But now when you open Whisper, the new version, you have our Whisper AI up here, checked by default. But now you can go ahead and add providers. This is right at the beginning and we'll talk about that soon. But you can go set up here. You can add custom providers that you might have. If you have a subscription or you access an API, you can now add it right here. It's all the standard endpoints if you're familiar, and we're going to be doing more. So that is it. Let me jump into the questions. I'm going to come to Ben first because this is actually quite an interesting thing to add because the whole brand of Whisper has been built around privacy, the idea of no cloud, no tracking, nothing leaving your device. And now we've gone ahead and added the ability to connect third-party providers if you would like. And how do we actually go ahead and, how do we communicate this kind of change, without feeling like we're walking back on what we're saying? Because we're not walking back on what we're saying, but how do we communicate that?
Yeah, well, it's a really good point. And on the face of it, it could, I guess, be seen as counterintuitive, counter to what we stand for. I think ultimately it stems from, I guess, a couple realities and also listen to the community. We're having community members saying to us, "Oh, it would be great if I could, choose my model, and not just have the model that we're giving." So with Whisper, we've always made it in the sense of making it as easy for Joe Public, who your mum, your dad, who doesn't know about technology, literally just to go on the App Store and the Play Store and download it and just use it like they would any app and make it super simple, super fast, and as good as we can. And that's really the whole premise of Whisper. Now, we've also got a very technical side to the community who want that customization, that ability to, maybe add different models. So, we listen to that side of things, but equally, we also recognize, and we've said this many times before, that local on-device AI, we're working with tiny models. We're innovating at the frontier of this technology, and there are limitations that we're never going to match with frontier models. And, we have to go through a lot of technical tweaking, distillation, and all the technical things that you guys have been working on to really make those models, the small models, as good as they possibly can be. But we recognize there's a limitation, and we're constantly trying to sort of work out ways to do that. Now, so on a practical sense, we're effectively giving people who are a bit more technically savvy the ability to, if they want, have bridge that gap, because effectively that's what we've got at the moment is there's a gap between on device and frontier, and that gap is narrowing literally week by week, month by month, as as the technology improves. But there is a gap. So this is, I guess, a way for us to bridge that gap for users who want to choose when they want a private conversation and when they want happy for that data to go to the cloud. So and again, it's another conversation we've had in the sense of it's also a paradigm, a spectrum of privacy. Where do you sit on that privacy spectrum? Some people are maximalist privacy, which even for them, Whisper's not enough, because they'll argue that actually there's risks at the the OS level. And again, that's something we're going to look at and something we're going to think about at a deep level. So there's a paradigm, or should I say a spectrum of privacy So for some people, maximalism is really important. Some people may be okay with where we're at with Whisper, which is unbelievable. Can I just say that? And other people going, well, I'm not bothered. You know, my mum said the other day, she said, well, listen, you know, I'm not going to be here forever. Do I really care if somebody's going to be sleeping on me? I said, well, mum, that's not necessarily the point, you know, but the point is everyone's got a different spectrum of privacy, and we're giving people that capability and choice. You know, it's phenomenal. You know, you've now got an app which you can choose to have a private 100% private conversation, or you can choose to have a bit more frontier technology, and you can switch between the two. And I think that's just phenomenal. And we'll continue to build out Whisper. We'll continue to make it better. And even for those cloud-based solutions, we're going to be looking at adding privacy layers on top. So, you know, we're very conscious of that. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's phenomenal. So that's my take.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that actually walks us quite nicely over to Matt here to talk us a little bit actually how this works. Because you said there's varying people that have different levels of technical abilities, different levels of understanding of how AI works. So when we actually say we're going to be connecting to, you know, and allow multi-providers, what does that actually mean, Matt? How does that work under the hood? When someone connects a third-party provider, you know, what are we handling as Whisper versus what is being sent externally? Because I do think this is important, and I think that is a boundary that we need to make clear to users on how that works with any new feature that we have a touch point on the outside world with. So what's your thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, our current implementation as of this week, what we've shipped, we've put in all of the foundations so we can integrate with more or less any provider that exposes an API. And what that means is if you choose to, say, add OpenRouter, which is currently the featured provider we've got on our setup screen, if you choose to integrate with them, we do clearly highlight that you're not going to get the same privacy reassurance, but you will get all of the value in the quality of different modules that are available when you integrate with OpenRouter. But underneath the hood, we've got quite a few different areas to kind of figure out. So, I mean, we've got the ability to choose different providers. So you can hook up your own with the custom option, or you can use OpenRouter. But I think in the future, we're also preparing for a sort of marketplace where you'll be able to browse like hand-curated versions of these modules that are better suited for you. And some of those might be cloud, where we don't control the full spectrum of privacy. So I think it really is a bit of an evolving conversation that we've got in terms of how it works under the hood and what we share about the elements of privacy that do exist. But to kind of get us started, we do have notices throughout the app to sort of highlight when you're doing something that may incur a privacy risk. And the biggest one for now is if you're using cloud whatsoever, then that can be a privacy risk. So I think just to add to that, the kind of risk that you're gonna see is just that any message that you're sending off to OpenRouter or any custom provider that you have hooked up, we do sort of share those messages in that particular conversation. The rest of your data doesn't go with it, it's just that one conversation. And most of this kind of explanation really is for those more maximist users. I think for the most part, most people are going to be kind of sat between the spectrum of just wanting to get going and hooking up with perhaps an API key that they've already got.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is always going to be an ongoing conversation and discussion about how we do it. And that's something I know that you're really focused on, Ben, especially when you're engaging with a community. Because what you don't want to do, and this is something that I'm acutely aware of and someone actually mentioned to me the other day, and I'd be really curious to get your thoughts on it as well, is when someone discovers Whisper for the first time and sees that we say that we're 100% local, 100% private, but also now we offer things like third-party provider support. We're going to be thinking about a marketplace where third-party integrations and apps and bots, whatever we end up calling it, will be integrated into alongside that local AI. The big question for me is like, how do we keep making sure that privacy first, that local development, that message doesn't get lost in amongst all these extra things that we're adding? And I know that's an ongoing question for you as well, Ben, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, and I don't want to sound too markety and all the rest of it, but it does come down to our brand, core, ethos and where we stand as founders, and our philosophy, that really stems from our perspective, and we implement that philosophy and that brand ethos into everything we do. And that's why we talk about sovereign AI. That's why we talk about private AI, the importance of it. That's why I write essays talking about the risks of the cloud. And it's us literally sharing our thinking, and like you said, Will, it's an evolving exercise that we're literally living in a technological revolution, and no one knows clearly what the path is. We're having to make that path. We're having to to walk that walk and figure it out as we go along. And I think the key is making sure that we stick to our core ethos of where we stand as individuals and people building this space, while also trying to provide functionality, tools, resources, capability for users who can actually benefit. I mean, there's no point building a product that is not actually of use to people, but equally we've got to make sure we completely align it with our ethical stance and where we want to be in terms of where we think AI should be. So I think it's just consistency of the messaging, explaining that this isn't a sellout at all. It's very much a capability addition, and we're given, why should we be the ones that tell people where you should stand on privacy? We're going to provide the tools, the functionality, the capability. We're going to make things, everything transparent. If data is going to be exposed, you'll know what data that is. So, let users choose. But we're very clear where we stand, and we're going to, make our private AI as private as it possibly can be. And we're tackling all of these things, which are multi-layered, by the way, from all sorts of angles that we're thinking about. But as a team, we've got to, focus on what we can deliver here and now, and build out and constantly innovate and constantly improve. So I think it's just clear messaging, very, clear in where we stand, and keep reminding us, what our stance is, because we don't want to be sort of pulled in a direction that might be sort of compromising ourselves and also our users, which is very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really easy to forget that we're still on a frontier here, and there's a lot of questions that don't actually have answers within the AI space. And that might seem scary, but that is the case with any new technology, any new innovation, and we are trying to push that forward, and we believe in doing it in a certain way with the idea of local first, privacy in mind. We want to involve the community and get answers. So every step of the way we're listening and making sure that everything is put in place to achieve what we set out to achieve, but also bring, as you said, a useful tool to everybody. Let's
definitely. Sorry, Will, can I just add to that just quickly for the audience who is listening? We want this to be a community-driven conversation as well. So, join our Discord, have conversations in there. We don't have all the answers. So the bigger we can build the community, the more we can engage with you, the more conversations we can have. You're not all going to have the right answers. We're not going to have the right answers. But together we can hopefully form the right path. And equally, if you're a developer, contribute, join, on GitHub. We're open source, or fair source license, okay, for those technically want to sort of pick up, be nuanced about it. But the point is, we're happy for contributors to join us and have conversations. We don't have all the answers, but we're figuring out this as we go along, and we've been very transparent about it.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Couldn't have put it better myself. I think what we should do now is move on to the last question, which I'm going to put to you, Matt, which is, obviously, this has been a first version of the multi-provider support and some of this feature functionality that we talk about in these videos. We still want to improve it. We still want to iterate on it. What can people expect in your mind over the coming updates to be coming as the next iteration to what we've added this week?
Yeah, no, it's a very apt question, because quite truthfully, adding multi-provider support has been it's been the biggest refactor that we've done to the app. Huge amounts of changes have been required to make it happen. And along that process, we have had to park some ideas and come back to them later. And I'll go through some of the options that we are going to look at, but just echoing what Ben said, if you are a developer and you want to contribute to some of the ideas that we're about to discuss, then please do head over to GitHub. And this is all written out in an article, which I've currently got pulled up to make sure I'm remembering it all correctly. But without much further ado, I think most critically, we want to keep hammering home like the transparent elements of privacy. So at the moment, we do have that very top level badge to indicate if you're even at 100% privacy or not. And we do have that kind of warning in place. But I think we could all collectively agree that there's more that we could do to make it clearer, especially when you finished setting up and you're talking with some sort of AI model. I think knowing at that point what sort of risk or what you are sharing, I think we need to explore how we actually share that a little more to the user. And that's going to be an evolving conversation. But in terms of what sort of technologies that we do use besides just UI and presenting to a user, I think we're going to be looking at potentially smart routing as one option. So depending on the sort of risk tolerance of a user, you might be perfectly comfortable for your more complicated questions to be automatically routed to a higher performant model instead of just using the small local model that Whisper ships with. We've also got the need for kind of context curation. So like what that means is if you're having a very long conversation and then you choose to switch to a cloud model, you might not need to share everything in the conversation. It might just need to be about a small part of that conversation that we share. And I think that the whole context curation side will apply to both what we share with a cloud, but also how we work with our own model on your device, more from a performance perspective. And I think we've got quite a few here. I think I'll highlight maybe just two more that are especially relevant to some of the points that Ben was making earlier. And one of them is the need for personally identifying information to be stripped out. So one technology that I think collectively would all love to look into is if you have chosen to use that cloud model and you're talking about something quite personal, maybe a healthcare problem or anything personal really, it would be wonderful for the AI to strip out anything that it can detect is personal and not really relevant to the query that you're asking. So, for example, if I've got a healthcare problem and I'm asking AI about it, it doesn't necessarily need to know what my name is or other details that would identify me. So that right there is a whole scope that we'd love to get into. And this next one, I think we obviously need to do it, but it's with a major pinch of salt. And that is actually, we can send flags to cloud providers to say, don't store this conversation. But I think historically over the last couple of years, we've seen ourselves with integrations with OpenAI and other providers too, that flag can just mean nothing. It doesn't necessarily deliver any sort of assurance that they haven't stored it or they haven't used it in some other fashion besides just delivering on your query. But yeah, there's plenty of other things. I think most of all, we just want to really improve the visual element, just making it clear throughout the app when you are not doing something private. And in the meantime, if you really do need 100% privacy, just keep the Whisper model selected and you'll have no problems.
No, absolutely fascinating. There's so many things we could do. That's the truth of it, and there's so many things on that exciting. So no, a big one this week. Everyone go check it out if you have it. If you don't have it, go and download it. It's getting really, really good now. And this multi-provider thing is really exciting to me because it opens up a world of possibilities. So thanks, Ben. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate your input.
Awesome.
And it's been a really good discussion. And if you are new to the community, as been mentioned throughout this chat, go to check out our Discord, go check out our GitHub if you're a developer and you're interested in how this is built or you want to contribute. And until next time, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in a bit.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.